So we got a special section today that I'm calling Lame Recognizes Lame. As most of our viewers will know, my son and I both made it into the championship game this season in fantasy football, only to come up short. So we thought we'd take this opportunity to interview each other. Alex, how are you feeling?
Feeling good. How are you?
Feeling good. So, Alex, you finished with a 6-7 record. You barely squeaked into the playoffs by way of a 25-point differential over last season's champion, Asher Chrisman. But then you proceeded to go on what looked like was going to be a dream run. You won your first game in a combined 300-point shootout against Liam Kolbach. You won your second game by defeating your best friend, Austin Zaya, again by 2 points. That win secured you a spot in the championship game against Julia Saffenfield, where ultimately you succumbed to the juggernaut that was Team Julia.
Yeah.
Alex, welcome to the podcast. How are you feeling after that loss?
Thank you. Hi. I'm feeling fine. I bounced back. I've recognized that her team's gone on a crazy run. It was like 13-1 or something. So, happened to me eventually.
No disappointment? Nothing lingers there? No hard feelings?
No, not anymore. I was a little disappointed after the first couple days, but not anymore.
So, Alex, I'm going to give you some interesting facts about your playoff run. You had the second most points against you. And actually, that wasn't for the playoffs. That was for the entire season. Teams were putting up points against the Redbirds. You had the fourth most points for. So you were scoring pretty good, pretty decent team. Julia was ahead of you. I believe Asher was ahead of you and Austin was ahead of you. But fourth in the league in points for, which is pretty good. But Julia was 300 points higher than you. Quite a team that she had. During the playoffs, teams were averaging 124 points against you. Pretty tough to win those games, but you still managed to get 2 wins in the playoffs. So let me ask you an important question. Are you glad that you made it to the championship game and got that close, or would you have preferred to lose in the first round so it didn't get so tempting?
I think I preferred to make it to the final round because making it to the final round, I still get some bragging rights over the other kids in the league.
Okay.
Because I can say at least you guys didn't make the final.
And was that your main objective, was to have bragging rights over the other teams in the league?
Yes, absolutely.
It's a rather shallow objective, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
Any regrets about your lineup choices in the final game?
I think I would have changed out my wide receiver since he got injured after his first touchdown. So he only gave me 8 points.
Who was your wide receiver?
I didn't have Tank. I had another person in, but I should have put Tank Dell in because he had like 20-something points. That could have helped me.
He did. Tank Dell also got injured, though. He did get 20 points before his injury, but he was done for the rest of the season now.
Yeah, it still would have been better than 8 points. So
Tank Dell breaking his knee would have been worth it for your fantasy football championship.
absolutely.
At what point during the week did you realize that your season was over, Alex?
I thought I was going to lose from the beginning, but I really realized that my season was over after it was about Sunday night because I realized that Julia still had 3 people to play on Monday.
I think she had 2 people, right? Wasn't it the New Orleans tight end and Josh Jacobs?
It was the Mike Evans guy, remember, because he was going for the 1,000 points or whatever.
Oh, Mike Evans was also playing?
Yeah.
Did you have any sort of victory speech prepared if you had one? And if so, give us a little taste.
I did not have a victory speech prepared, but I would have probably just congratulated the other people on
Losing to you?
on losing to me and doing well in the season. I don't know where I would have given this victory speech because we don't have like a party planned or anything, but
Would you have planned the party had you won?
no, I would have told the commissioner to do it.
You wouldn't have planned a party for winning the league?
No.
Humble. Humble and proud.
Yep.
Did you feel like any one of your players in particular let you down?
Yeah, probably Joe Mixon. He only got me 6 points, and he definitely did not do as well as I was hoping he would.
What would you say to Joe Mixon if he were here?
Stop getting injured.
What's more important, Joe Mixon's health or the Redbirds fantasy football?
The Redbirds fantasy football team.
Plans for next year? Do you think you'll be in the championship game again?
I can only hope, but I will strive to go to the championship game.
What are your plans to compete again next year? Any particular players you're going to be looking out for in the draft?
I'll be looking out for Saquon Barkley and Trey McBride because they both did good this year.
And finally, Alex, what would you like to say to the winner of the Kids Fantasy Football League?
Congratulations on winning the league. You had a great season, and you deserve the win in the end.
Very good. Very good, Alex. I wish you luck next season. I actually have a bonus question unrelated to fantasy football, if you'll indulge me.
All right.
So, Alex, I've been listening to a podcast called The Telepathy Tapes. Have you heard of this?
If not,
So, this podcast is about nonverbal children and the possibility that they have telepathy and can communicate with their parents or caregivers despite their inability to speak. Now, you are, as we all know, not nonverbal. You're, or what I would consider extraverbal,
oh,
obnoxiously verbal, even some might say, like your mother. But what I have here is an envelope. There's a number written on a sheet of paper in this envelope, Alex. I'm thinking of that number. If you can name that number, I will give you $1,000.
do I get a hint on the number?
No, oh, it's between 1 and 100. There's your hint.
33.
This interview is over.
Out here. Now I am interviewing you since you also lost against Mr. Andres. How are you feeling after the final? Have you coped with your loss or have you bounced back?
No, I haven't coped with it at all. I'm feeling terrible, to tell you the truth. I thought it was mine. I planned to win. I had big plans for the money. So no, I would say this is the worst day of my life.
What were some of your plans for the money?
Probably just gamble it. I'll go to the casino, blackjack, lose it in 3 hours. But it would have been fun. It would have been a great 3 hours.
Would you put it all in red the second you got in there, or would you put it on black? What would you put it on?
That's not blackjack.
What's one thing that you would say to either a player on your team or Mr. Andres' team?
I think I would tell Chris Boswell to tell Russell Wilson that he is useless and needs to retire, because the last game, Chris Boswell got 4 points because Russell Wilson was completely incapable of moving the ball more than 4 yards at a time, and there were no field goal opportunities because the rest of the Steelers' offense was useless.
So we're dissing my quarterback here?
Yes. So my answer is I would have Chris Boswell pass on the message to Russell Wilson, who's not welcome on this podcast.
What would you like to say to the winner of the league, Mr. Andres?
I wish that you didn't get the 3 spot and I took you out in the first week of the playoffs.
Who was your favorite player that you had on your team, and will you be trying to pick them up next year?
I'm going to go with Jared Goff. Jared Goff was my favorite player. I started the season out with Josh Allen. I actually drafted him in the first round. Got made fun of quite a bit for that. But Josh Allen bailed me out of a few games. But then I made a trade and decided to rely on Jared Goff, and he's paid off for me. So I would say Jared Goff is my favorite player.
Will you be trying to pick him up next year?
No, absolutely not.
When did you realize that you were going to lose the final, and how did you know?
You know, I had a pretty bad feeling about it on Saturday when Chris Boswell only ended up with 4 points in that Steelers game. I knew something was off at that point. But really, Sunday was just crushing wave of despair, depression, sadness.
That is not ended yet.
No, I would say it's getting stronger.
You seem pretty happy today, I might say.
I've been crying down here while you guys were playing outside.
Did you ever believe that you were going to blow out Mr. Andres?
Yes. I thought my luck was going to continue. I thought I'd have another 140-plus point game. At this point, I'm projected to get to 90. It's not been good.
Sorry. I got more points than that.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out.
It's my final question. It's more of a joke question for the other people in the league. Do you believe that Devontae Adams got you to the final?
Well, I'll give a serious answer to your joke question. I think Devontae Adams did pretty well for me this year, actually. I think he ended up as wide receiver 11, something like that. And he had, He had a couple of pretty good games with Aaron Rodgers, which is amazing because Aaron Rodgers is more useless even than Russell Wilson, who we covered. So for Devontae to still have a relatively decent season, given his circumstances, I think he's shown that he's still a top receiver. I don't know what his contract looks like with the Jets. If there is a God, he'll get out of it and go somewhere else. But no, I like Devontae Adams, and I think he did well for me this year.
Never trade Devontae Adams.
I did not trade him, and I never will again. See you in the first round next year, Devontae.
That is all of my questions. If you have any more.
I do not. No, you're interviewing me.
I mean, I'm out of questions. I don't know if you wanted to ask any more.
Usually a prepared host will have some sort of outro, thank me, something like that.
Thank you for joining me on my episode of the podcast today, where both of our losers, we're just going to go sulk in our sadness later.
You are welcome.
I might be back for the Kids League. We'll see. Am I going to be? The Kids League update?
All right, you're just rambling now. Good night.
Good night.